For the Babylonians, the Hebrews, and the Greeks, the most sacred day of the week was the Sabbath, a ritual remembrance of the lost epoch. And in each of these cultures, this holiest day was the day of Saturn, the Latin Saturnidis, or Saturn's Day, the Celtic day of Seater, our Saturday. But the Golden Age did not last. In the myths of Quetzalcoatl, of Ra, and of An, of Kronos and of Saturn, the Golden Age does not just come to an end. It ends violently. And with the collapse of the Golden Age arrives the feared comet, the dragon of darkness, the fall into the cosmic night, the clash of the titans. All of the symbols of doomsday. Sunrise. To the star worshippers, a symbol of the cosmic dawn, when the universal monarch, the first sun god, shone above the world. The ancient Greeks called their sun god Helios. We assume they were referring to the sun we know, the sun that rises in the east and sets in the west. But in the earliest Greek manuscripts, Helios was the name of the planet Saturn. And the Greeks were not alone. The Babylonian Shamash, always translated as sun, was identified as Saturn. So also the Egyptian Ra, the Hindu Surya, the Latin Sol. But Saturn is a mere dot in a starry expanse. What could have caused the first star worshippers to celebrate that minute speck as the sun?
Velikovsky talked about a confusion between Saturn and the sun in the ancient languages. I came to realize it was not a matter of confusion. For the ancients, Saturn was the revered sun god.
Every day our sun rises in the east and sets in the west. But the archaic sun god Saturn did not rise or set. It did not move. Egyptian texts say of the sun god Atum or Ra, the great god lives fixed in the middle of the sky. Surprisingly, the Babylonians used almost exactly the same language to describe the sun god Shamash in the stationary center of heaven. For an earthbound observer, there is only one motionless spot in the sky, the celestial pole. The stars we see are actually cutting a circle around the polar axis, close to the star Polaris. Of course, nothing would seem more irrational than an ancient sun god at this location. And yet, throughout the Near East, the universal monarch appears as a central sun called the axis and the pole of the world. To the Hindus, the sun god Surya occupied the place of supreme rest, the motionless site. So too the Greek Helios and the Aztec Quetzalcoatl. In their earliest expressions, these figures occupy the stationary cosmic center. There is an astonishing unity to this global tradition. Ancient Iranian astronomers identified the pole as Saturn's home, and so did the Neoplatonists of Greece. Roman poets remembered Saturn as the steadfast star, and Chinese astronomers recalled that, in the beginning, Saturn was the arch premier at the celestial pole. How can this be, that the ancient sun god Saturn once stood where no sun or planet stands today?
By the summer of 1972, I had gathered together all of these fascinating pieces. I could see obvious patterns, but the larger picture continued to elude me. I became fixated on one strange idea, an idea endlessly repeated in pictographs and symbols around the globe, a great crescent in the sky. Scholars have always assumed it meant the moon, but the crescent in the pictographs does not behave like the moon.
On every continent, archaeologists have uncovered curious drawings of an archaic sun. They do not look like our sun, yet they are strangely similar. And most mysterious of all is the great crescent encircling the sphere of this enigmatic sun. Early Egyptian drawings place crescent horns on the sun god Ra. In Mesopotamia, the crescent is repeatedly drawn wrapped around the sun god Shamash. A crescent horn turning in the sky. The image appears throughout the world. A vast crescent, unlike anything in our own sky today.
Labor Day weekend, I took my family to the coast. The wind was blowing hard and the water was rough. Sitting in our cabin above the shore, I began to doodle on a piece of paper. Late in the day, the wind died down. Everything was very still. Then it hit me. The only way you can produce a crescent with the behavior I was observing would be to place a large body at the celestial pole, exactly where the ancient astronomers had placed the gas giant Saturn.
So you should probably plan on being over there about 6:30 for a sound check. He wanted to know the order that we're going to be doing the interviews after the presentations tonight.
Okay, astronomy, in addition to Victor Kuhn, who's the Department of Astrophysics at Oxford, we have the astronomer Tom Van Flanders.
Okay, where's he at?
Way ready to welcome. Agenda. Time.
Catastrophe, remembered as the Great Deluge, occurred when the Earth pulled.
Once Earth was assaulted by cosmic intruders. The agents of these catastrophes were planned.
This one is supposed to be before this.
Okay, reverse.
Let's get this to work. What?
That should come before this one. That should be right before this one.
Okay, we start with night sky as seen from the Earth.
Uh-huh.
When the first star worshippers looked out at the sky, is this what they saw as well? All of The revolving crescent helped me to realize something. Ancient myths and symbols don't answer to our world. It was said that throughout the Golden Age the planet stood in line. We see the hero bringing forth a cosmic pillar or world mountain. We see Jupiter, born as if from nowhere as Saturn's son and successor. Not one original theme of myth will be explained by anything occurring in nature today. I began to sense that a unified theory was possible, a theory accounting for all of the themes of myth. But it would require that I allow for the unthinkable. The proposition that the Earth was once part of an entirely different planetary arrangement.
If we take the testimony of the ancients as a literal description of actual events, the events would have looked like this. The Earth moved in a congregation of planets appearing as immense forms in the sky. Saturn was seen as a huge, stationary body at the celestial pole. Venus appeared squarely in the center of Saturn, and Mars appeared inside of Venus. Jupiter was there also, but hidden by Saturn. The entire system moved through a diffuse cloud of gas, illuminated by our sun. On Earth, this meant that there was no clear distinction of day and night. At an early juncture, gaseous material or dust stretched from Venus towards Saturn. In periods of stability, these radiating streams appeared as a three-pointed and a four-pointed star-like pattern. Over time, the surrounding cloud dissipated. A more clearly defined cycle of day and night began. A bright crescent appeared on Saturn, created by light from our sun. As the Earth rotated on its axis, the crescent visually turned around the polar center. The smaller planet Mars was progressively destabilized and appeared to descend from its central position as it moved closer to the Earth. It returned to the central position then descended still further, growing larger with each descent. When it visually dropped below Venus, a stream of material was seen stretching between Mars and Venus. As it continued to descend, gas and dust began to extend towards Earth. Latter